Rangers, have you seen what's happening behind the scenes at Ibrox? Andrew Kavanagh facing a massive decision that could change everything. Chris Sutton humiliated live after being put in his place. A former manager who just can't hide his joy after Rangers' victory over Celtic, and believe it or not, Václav Cerny facing a ban for a celebration that the green and white crybabies didn't like. Want all the explosive details? Stick around until the end because this is going to get people talking. Rangers are standing on the precipice of a new era, waiting for the 49ers enterprises to finalize their takeover. And yet, despite the chaos of a season that's seen the club 13 points adrift of Celtic in the league, something remarkable is unfolding under Barry Ferguson. The interim boss has injected fresh life into Ibrox, guiding the team to a dramatic Europa League triumph over Fenerbahce before sealing a historic win against Celtic. In a campaign that's largely been a disaster, Ferguson has suddenly given you a reason to believe again. The big question now, what do Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marath do next? The incoming owners were expected to pursue a high-profile, experienced manager to lead Rangers into a new chapter. But Ferguson's early success is making that decision anything but straightforward. 5 games into his tenure, he's only suffered 1 defeat, and even that was a narrow loss to Motherwell. More crucially, he's galvanized a squad that looked lifeless, instilling the kind of winning mentality that Ibrox demands. His work was supposed to be about mentality and short-term results, but with each passing game, the argument grows, does Ferguson deserve the job permanently? It's still early days, and there are major questions over whether he has the long-term credentials to handle the scale of the Rangers project under new ownership. But if he keeps winning, how do you justify replacing him? Would sacking Ferguson after taking down Celtic and conquering Europe in Istanbul be a betrayal of Rangers' values? Chris Sutton just can't help himself, can he? Even when Rangers march into Celtic Park, put 3 past them and walk away victorious, he's still scrambling for ways to diminish the achievement. But this time, Robbie Savage wasn't having it, calling out Sutton's nonsense live on air for all to hear. Rangers delivered a statement performance in enemy territory, storming to a 2-0 lead through Nicholas Raskin and Mohamed Diamanda. Celtic clawed their way back into it, leveling at 2 each, but when it mattered most, Hamza Igamane stepped up, latching on to Jack Butland's long ball and smashing home a dramatic late winner. A massive moment, a massive result, and yet Sutton, instead of giving Rangers the credit they deserve, decided to take a petty dig. Posting on social media, he admitted Igamane's goal was worthy of winning any game, but then tried to twist the narrative, saying, Rangers play well when the pressure and expectation isn't on them. It's the classic Sutton deflection, ignoring the fact that Rangers have now beaten Celtic twice this season, both times when it mattered most. But Robbie Savage wasn't letting him get away with it. Live on BBC Radio 5, he tore into Sutton, branding his comments absolutely pathetic and reminding him and everyone listening that Rangers are the form team in Scotland right now. Barry Ferguson's men are on a roll. The Old Firm triumph follows their heroic Europa League win over Fenerbahce, setting up a mouth-watering quarter-final against Athletic Bilbao. Yes, the league table still shows a gap, but there's a growing sense that something special is brewing at Ibrox under Ferguson. Of course, there's still work to do. Rangers need to start delivering at Ibrox, having stumbled against Motherwell in their last home match. There's also the sting of a Scottish Cup exit at the hands of Queen's Park and a League Cup final defeat to Celtic to avenge. But what's clear is that Ferguson has reignited the fighting spirit in this squad, and with momentum on their side, anything feels possible. So here's the real question. If Rangers are only good when the pressure is off, how does Sutton explain back-to-back Old Firm wins and a European quarter-final? Or is it just that he can't stand to admit that Rangers are rising again. Rangers never leaves you, and Michael Beale knows it better than most. The former boss, who was unceremoniously shown the door at Ibrox, was still buzzing after watching Barry Ferguson mastermind a sensational 3-2 win over Celtic at their own ground. Beale couldn't hold back his excitement, taking to social media to hail the famous and give credit to Ferguson, his staff, and the players. And who can blame him? Rangers delivered a performance packed with quality, intensity, and most importantly, sheer desire to get the job done. From Nicholas Raskin's early flicked header to Mohamed Diamande's clinical strike, Ferguson's side had Celtic rattled by half-time. Even when the home side clawed it back to 2 each, there was no panic. Instead, there was belief, and Hamza Igamene's late winner proved it. Even Brendan Rodgers and Neil Lennon had no choice but to praise Rangers. And if that wasn't enough of a shock, now we've got the conversation about Steven Gerrard possibly returning as manager, and the even bigger question of whether Beale could come back with him. Alan Hutton isn't convinced. Would Beale want to go from Rangers manager to Rangers assistant? Would the supporters accept him back after his disastrous tenure? Or would Gerrard bringing Beale back be a sign that the winning formula from 2021 is being pieced back together? Václav Cerny facing a ban for celebrating. That's Scottish football for you, where Rangers players can't even enjoy a victory without someone trying to drag them down. Let's be honest, this so-called incident is a non-story. Cerny, in the heat of the moment, sprays some water while celebrating, and suddenly we've got ex-officials comparing it to throwing an object at fans. Give us a break. If the Scottish FA decides to go after him for this, then we know exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, Barry Ferguson's Rangers are flying, outplay them, and leave with 3 points. This team is showing character, desire, and most importantly, a winning mentality. And with Ferguson in charge, you can feel something special brewing again at Ibrox. But back to Cerny, he's been outstanding since arriving, and if the new ownership has any sense, they'll do everything to keep him in Govan. We've seen this before with Abdallah Sima. If Rangers don't move quickly, they'll lose him to a club playing in the Champions League. So here's the real debate. Are Rangers players being held to an unfair standard, or is this just another case of the authorities looking for any excuse to punish the club? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.